Well, also this Friday we got Chris Robertshaw from Social Care, and it's a job that certainly makes the headlines, probably more than you ever even thought when you took on this job, did you?
Oh, I wasn't sure because I was new to politics, but I'm enjoying it. I mean, there are big challenges for this government. How do you arrive at a situation where you've got a low tax jurisdiction but high quality delivery of welfare, health and services? It's a massive challenge, and I think we're up for it. We're beginning to make progress now.
Although you're a bit of the bogeyman as far as some of the backbenchers are concerned, you have been highlighted. Mr. Horton particularly has got his eye on you, I think was his sort of terminology.
I'm honoured.
But are you worried? I mean, there you are. You're the one that's putting through the child benefit changes. The post office is not going to get used, and so on. In fact, I think there's questions coming up on Tuesday about that, isn't there? Again.
Yeah, John's animated at the moment about post office issues, and he has used some rather colourful language in the media just over the last few days. Are
you going to say any more about it here, or do you want to wait until after the...
Well, he's got a question on Tuesday, and I'd like to respond to him then, but I think it's important that we get the facts out there into the public arena. I'd be delighted to talk to you about it again.
But still a bit of surprise, you sent all these letters out, and you've been on the record already saying...
The child benefit?
Yeah, not that much of a response back.
Yeah, well, we started off by saying there should be 4 tranches over the weeks and months, and but then we were a bit surprised when the first tranche A to C went out and we didn't get the returns that we thought we would get, and that worried us more than a little. And what we've done now is send all the letters out. The last of the letters go out today, so if people haven't got their letters by Tuesday, then please get in touch with us, so you should have it by then. But I do beg people to get these forms back to us. Please don't think that we will be able to deal with a rush right at the end.
Well, by the sounds of it, there will be a rush. It'll stop, won't it? A lot of people won't suddenly get their money, and then they'll be on to you saying, where is it?
And that would be very unfortunate. It's not, and unnecessary, because there is now time to get these forms in and get them put through the system so that we can make sure that the appropriate funds go out in the appropriate way at the right time. But also, please, those who have household incomes less than 60,000 should not assume that they have a continued automatic right to child benefit. This existing system stops on the 6th of April. The new one starts on April the 7th. Please get the forms back to us.
What about nursery care and all the changes that went through there? How did that all settle down now? Because it seems to have gone off the sort of area of concern for a lot of people. Did it work out as you planned?
Well, I think at the time that nursery arrangements changed, there was a sense that all the government's trying to do is run away from cost and pass the responsibility to others. But there was something more fundamental that we were trying to achieve, and it was this, that the problem we had was that we believed in nursery education, but we were only providing it in certain schools. So geographically, it was very much a curate's egg. It was available here and not there. We had to arrive at a situation where nursery care was more available across the island and more fairly funded across the island. So that's why nursery credit came into being in the first instance. Very pleased to say that Department of Education and Children have just very recently, in the last few days I think, produced a report which analyses the psychometrics for children coming into reception class in September 2013. And actually the measures, psychomotor, cognitive, personal, social, emotional measures are all up on the previous year. Now that points, I believe, to how we must continue to pursue and support nursery care and early years foundation education. And that's why I'm determined to send more money across from a revised child benefit system over to nursery care. So another £500,000 goes to nursery care in September, and I hope that people are able to use that as an opportunity to intensify their interest in that provision.
I mean, there's quite a lengthy press release you put out here about our children updates. I mean, it's all pretty glowing as far as you're concerned. Do you not see any
No, I don't think
areas?
It's not intended to be glowing at all. There's nothing complacent about it. It's just, Paul, that you remember that I majored in child issues when I was a backbencher. And I asked for an inspection, external inspection, which we've now had, and we get the report back soon, and I'm sure there'll be very significant criticisms in there for us to deal with. In order to measure our response to them, I've asked for another inspection in a year's time. But what I also want to say today is that we have made significant progress. We really have. When I came into the department, we were really concerned about the turnover in staff in Children and Families Division, the support they were getting. You remember, I talked a lot about Professor Eileen Munro's work about how important it was to focus on the relationship between the child and the family and the social worker, and I felt that we had problems there. We did, because we had too high a turnover in staff, and we were lacking in the support necessary, and we were making a number of mistakes. Well, the good news is that the churn in staff has diminished significantly. The support that we're providing has expanded. I'm absolutely convinced now that the leadership is significantly better than it was. I'm not embarrassed to say that for the first year in office as Minister, I used to go home most nights worried about children and families, and was it going to become an even greater problem? Well, we've got past that now, and well past it. We've now started to get into positive territory, and we're continually improving. The next step for us is, and we're just on the verge of this now, is building up a relationship with Queen's College Belfast to provide postgraduate diploma courses in social care with emphasis on childcare, so that we can continue to develop our professional development for our social workers.
But just before we finish, consultation on special guardianship regulations.
Well, I've got a couple of other issues as well. I'd like to just touch on, if I may, on the level of looked after children.
Okay.
When I came into office, we were oscillating around about 130, and there was a need to try to get a lower level. There are circumstances where it's very important for a child to come into and become a looked after child. Really important reasons. But equally, it's important that we keep that number to an acceptable level. Now, what I'm pleased to say is that, as I say, we had around about 130 when I came to office. We're now at around about 80 to 90, which is a very significant improvement, and I'm very pleased of that measure is improving. Also, there's been an awful lot of talk over the last few years about the number of referrals, and effectively the number of referrals is reduced by 18.5% in the last year. So the indicators are beginning to go in the right direction. Now, you mentioned about special guardianship.
Well, this is what your second press release today. What, briefly, what does that mean?
Well, David Quirk championed this issue of a need to focus on guardianship and to introduce a bill to refine that provision. To quickly describe what guardianship is, you've got normal parenthood on one side. You've got looked after children in another arena. You've got fostering and adoption. But in the middle is guardianship, and it wasn't really quite pitched correctly, because a guardian has day-to-day care for the child, but is limited in that person's responsibility for the child. And the idea of David's bill effectively is to allow guardianship to carry on, allow the relationship between the child and the birth family to continue, but to allow the guardian to have more day-to-day responsibilities, so to make care for the child better effectively. So it falls to me in my department to take it through the House, and the consultation starts today. It's open for 4 weeks. If you have an interest in this area, do please go on our website and have a look at the consultation document.
Finally, with all the talk of reshuffles, and I know you're going to back me off on this one, but are you 100% committed to staying where you are, or will you go where you're told, or do you have a say in it, or have you been asked even?
Well, I think in my original Manx radio interview a number of years ago asked about this, I said, well, I'll go where I'm sent, and that remains to be the case. However, as a backbencher, as a minister, I've had a real interest and concern about social policy. What I think I need to draw your attention to, though, is that these changes that are being made are quite fundamental, and having a cabinet minister in the centre driving policy is a fundamental change for us. So people might say, well, is it right or wrong to have Social Security move to Treasury? Does it become a number crunching exercise when really it's about the vulnerable? Well, no, that's not the problem at all, because all the departments of government, wherever we sit, whatever responsibilities we're given, will work from the concept of our policy drive. And social policy will come from the centre and will be the concern of every department in government.
Okay, but with all these reshuffles, things are happening. Where do you think you can do the best? Just exactly this sort of job under the new system.
I remain committed to social policy issues. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see, of course, in the next few weeks. But
we will.
Do you have any say in the sense of,
No.
will you go and see the Chief Minister? Do you have a...
It's up to him.